Omega.
Yes. Yank.
See.
Did you hear that Sin Cara has started buying up internet service providers?
You don't say.
Yeah, he bought up the one that Gunner's on now.
AT and Z.
I think it's called Sin Network now. As in, no network. Let's see if we can start the show.
Please, let's start the show.
He's back.
I'm going right here to start singing in 2 seconds.
Okay, so I can hear it fine. Was it not working?
Are we on air?
Yeah, we're on the air.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, my internet is sucking this evening, so if I cut in and out of this conversation, blame that. Thanks, Kane.
Was that be Shane Helms, or would that be the one that crashed into, like Japan?
No, not the one that crashed into Japan, but the one that crashed in Nick's backyard. But speaking of Shane Helms, I did get a tweet from him the other day.
Oh, really?
Monday night. Yes, I did.
Okay.
And what was that? I better not say what I was about to say.
I asked him if he could... He
Oh, for the love of fuck. Maybe we should just start the news.
Before I was rudely interrupted, I had asked him if he had stories about Montreal, and he said, well, I can't share any. And that was that.
I've still got you topped with Mick Foley DMing me and telling me that he appreciated it.
Yeah.
My name as far as when he was trying to name his finisher, the Skull Crushing finale, he liked my name and suggestions.
Well, I also got a tweet from WWE Games as well.
Can we just do the damn news?
Alright, fine.
Motion control, you mean?
E-Peens!
Very popular word regarding the rest of the year is that Roman Reigns will effectively this year's Daniel Bryan, going from feuds with Randy Orton to Seth Rollins to Triple H, and then on to win the Royal Rumble and face the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania 32. Wouldn't that be 31? That champion could possibly be Brock Lesnar, who will win the title at SummerSlam, wrestle at Night of Champions, and then eventually at WrestleMania. There's obviously a lot of concern over that plan, given Lesnar's unique situation and how many days he would actually appear as the champion. In the past, there's been a strong feeling that the champion should appear as much as possible, and not at TV, but at live events. There's also the matter of Daniel Bryan and what to do when he returns. As soon as they knew Daniel Bryan would be out, officials decided on John Cena as the next champion, and he was also long decided to be the one on WWE 2K15 video game cover, as he's actually ever had a solo cover and is more well known to the public.
I guess I could be 31 coming up next. It's that stupid flick.
Yep.
Throws you off. It looks like a P, or a D. Anyway, this whole idea which I believe we might be talking about later on, this whole idea of WWE planning an entire year again, which, is really kind of a bad idea, especially when you consider it's one thing to map out Roman Reigns and his feuds, that's okay. But when you consider Brock Lesnar, the perennial inactive star, as the champion, that's a little... I don't know how that's going to fly.
It would probably fly as well as he would. During that Canadian match.
Ton of bricks. Yeah, that's not a good idea. If he's not going to be on the active full-time roster like everybody else is, it's not a good idea to put the belt on him for any length of time.
Am I the only one not surprised at them saying, Daniel Bryan's injured and he was the champ, better put the belt on Cena?
Actually, everyone is not surprised by that. And if you are surprised by that, you're wow, yes.
Don't insult our 48 listeners per episode.
Oh, that would be average. There's like 50 that listen to this stuff. And hey, I don't listen to it myself, so it's not me.
For which we are very thankful, but real...
Oh, sweet, did we lose NJ?
I don't know. Maybe.
We'll talk more about this whole thing later on. Let's try to keep this thing... not have to shoot this horse before it's out of state. And we'll talk about TNA. How about why not? It seems that the original plan would have seen MVP win the TNA World title from Eric Young, had his injury not put him down, led to Bobby Lashley becoming champion instead. No surprise there, really. The fact that TNA is risking airing Bound for Glory on a tape delay from Japan suggests that they are making zero money from pay-per-view. Although they are essentially getting Sonata for free, as Wrestle One is only paying him his regular salary, hoping the X Division Championship and American exposure will make him a bigger star in Japan. In fact, I believe he just signed a joint contract between the two promotions. That big London announcement we talked about before is likely to be a new TNA TV show in the British market, similar to British Boot Camp. Former Knockout Thea Trinidad, who you might know as Rosita, has been working as one of Adam Rose's Rosebuds recently in WWE, assigned to be signed there soon. Word is that Global Force Wrestling is potentially planning on using a six-sided ring, which led to TNA bringing it back suddenly to undercut them, although despite the objections of many wrestlers, including Lance Storm, who posted a lengthy blog about it. And despite being one of the most influential people in TNA today, having his hands on many of the things that happened during the New York City tapings, Bully Ray joked on the Opie and Anthony radio show that if Vince came calling, he would quickly return to WWE.
Breaking news about TNA. Robbie E. tends to fart while doing yoga. This was posted to TMZ not too long ago. You're welcome.
Oh, because I really needed to hear that in the middle of my stomach pain.
Gracious. In a weird way, I kind of have to commend TNA for some of the things they've done lately. This whole, the six-sided ring, nobody really cares about that. But the idea of Bound for Glory from Japan, which is something WWE simply cannot do. The idea of these New York City things and the whole, just everything they managed to accomplish there. Again, another thing that WWE really just can't really do. And, we've been saying for years that's what TNA really needs to do, is just things that WWE can't. That's how they might not be a competitor, but they'll be successful.
This will be very interesting to see what the Japanese crowd does to react to this particular, turn of events, if you would. I'm very interested to see what the crowd reaction will be. The other thing that's really interesting is that, what should I call it? The four-sided versus six-sided ring argument. Some people argue that the six-sided ring causes more injuries and is tougher to work on, which I would tend to agree, because if you take a look at what the six-sided ring is made out of and what the four-sided ring is made out of, you would see vastly different construction, in the ring, which would tend to cause more injuries, because while there's six sides, there's also, a very different structure than you would be on a standard plank by plank 4x4, a four-sided ring. While I enjoy the six-sided ring more, from a worker standpoint, and while Lance Storm has a completely valid point, I don't see TNA actually, going back to the four-sided ring pretty much ever again.
They've already done it, and even if it was for a rather petty reason, like the Global Force Wrestling thing, it is what it is, really. One thing you can say about the six sides is it did kind of give them an identity. It was unique. A lot of people criticized them going back to be fair, a lot of people criticized when they went to four again. Back during that whole Hulk Hogan change everything era. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody truly. They said it then, they'll probably say it now. It really doesn't matter how many sides it is. That's not. It's pretty completely meaningless to the fans.
That six-sided ring was the only thing Hulk Hogan was right about.
Maybe. Not necessarily, but maybe. Moving on, though, since we don't have anything else to talk about, which is pretty sad about TNA, this arrest last Monday actually led to her release from WWE. However, a few hours later, the company announced they had reinstated her for the appropriate action taking place instead. Rumor has it she is suspended until further notice, but the quick reinstatement is likely due to the criticism over other stars having far stronger offenses. Jack Swagger and Cameron are notable offenders in this. The latter of whom probably couldn't enter Canada due to Swagger's crime. A suspicious package was sent to WWE headquarters that same day with reports of an unknown white powder, but police cleared any danger. Weird, huh? Cesaro is currently the favorite to win the Battle Royal at Battleground and will likely keep wearing an eye patch for a few more weeks due to the eye poke. I don't think he wore an eye patch this particular Raw. Okay. And Adam Rose's match against Damian Sandow at Money in the Bank was seen as his pay-per-view chance, and the crowd not getting behind him is not a good sign for his future. Adam Rose, sorry, buddy, you're going back down to developmental, or your future never.
I think the whole eye patch is more of an outside the ring precaution type thing. Rather than, he can probably stand to not wear it in the ring just because, it's like when you might wear a cast or something outside the ring, but you get in the ring and you might have like a brace rather than an actual cast. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, Adam Rose, the problem is it's a very one-note thing, and they can't really. They're not good enough, quite frankly, to keep thinking of reasons for him to kind of continue on with it, Because you could argue that Fandango was similar type of thing, the dancing and such. At least Fandango is more of a wrestling presence, Rose is more, some of his matches are shorter than his entrance, that's never good.
Yes.
He's
his new push on the market, on this past Monday, and his involvement with Dolph Ziggler essentially solidifies both of their positions. It's that lower mid card that would potentially see the light of day on Superstars. The former mid card, or quote unquote mid card, that was enjoyed by the one and only Zack Ryder, who actually spent this week at home.
Speaking of home, let's talk about this Emma thing. Actually, let's talk about Swagger for a second, because Cameron was on the show, but Swagger wasn't. And they both had DUIs, and in fact, Cameron's was probably worse, because she tried to bribe the police. I'm not quite sure how that works. Maybe he pled guilty and she had different sentences. I don't know.
I thought we were going to talk about Vince's cocaine shipment.
Well, there's that.
Yeah, you beat me to that joke. But seriously, how does anybody know how much Cameron's blood alcohol was when she got pulled over?
I don't think it really matters at this particular point, but at the same time, it's a pretty terrible thing. But speaking of Vince McMahon.
And terrible things.
Okay, so speaking of Vince McMahon, he was reportedly ordered more major cuts after the ones they've already made have been working, cutting their losses substantially into the 8 figures. The new season of Tough Enough was to begin filming last week, but it has been pushed back until October. A new season of Legends House was also supposed to start, but it might not happen at all. The change in the pay-per-view business could affect big returns such as The Rock, who had been paid a percentage opposed to a guarantee. Hulk Hogan's current deal does include a substantial guarantee plus a high dollar figure per date, with WWE retaining the right to book him first.
My question is this. Will they release or not bring back a high-profile superstar such as The Rock or Hulk Hogan to save money? And question, why does Kofi Kingston still have Pyro if we're cutting back on expenses?
Everybody's talking Pyro. It seemed like they were cutting back on it, but now it seems like everybody's got it still.
Exactly, so what the hell is going on here?
Well, come on, let's be honest. Some sparklers do not cost that much.
Well, they kind of do, to be completely honest, if you're doing that large.
Maybe they're doing it every other week type of thing.
Perhaps.
I think there's literally a guy with sparklers probably shaving the stuff off into a little air cannon, and they're probably lighting it and shooting it out.
Well, I mean, you think about all the other things that probably cost 35 cents to make, they pay $5 more.
No. I mean, that's how they've gotten pyros back. Last July, like 6th or 7th, they went out and bought a shit ton of sparklers, and now there's a guy in the back shaving them off with a pocket knife so that people can have pyro.
Nope, he's absolutely correct. I mean, it's after July 4th, so you know what that means. Clearance sales!
This sounds vaguely familiar, like that. Remember that one head of Jericho Security when he was in the WCW? Always had the sparklers.
Yes.
What
the hell is his name?
Ralphus.
They're Alphas. Yes, that is correct.
Ralphus.
True. More cuts. Yes. I don't know. You kind of have to wonder if these projects would really get off the ground in the first place, whether they were making cuts or not, because you know how WWE tends to do that kind of thing. But some people are theorizing Emma actually got released because it gave them the excuse to cut her salary. But you know, that I don't know about that.
I think Emma will be back sooner rather than later. It'll take a couple months for it to blow over. Maybe she'll do some stuff at NXT or sit with her, thumb up her ass at home.
It was a pretty kind of ridiculous contradiction to fire her over a misunderstanding at Walmart compared to a DUI and fried
DUI with drug possession.
Ooh, I didn't hear about that part.
That
Exactly.
swagger. But anyway, does anyone else get a little excited at the idea of another season of Tough Enough?
Not really.
No.
I'm kind of bored with the concept, and I really wanted to turn into something else.
I think there's a lot of potential there to be good and interesting, depending on who they get. Stone Cold was fantastic. I think it was the last season.
I would rather not see it Tough Enough, but a new IP developed out of Total Divas essentially, but with new kids that are coming into the WWE developmental. So people like Bull and a few other people that have been there for a little while, but need that exposure. And instead of doing it with a Tough Enough format like that's traditional, doing it instead with a more introspective look on how they've got there and what they've sacrificed and their families, etc. And
that sounds boring.
Are you kidding me? It's UFC.
Boring. I want to watch Triple H yell at people.
I don't.
I was trying to be the voice of America.
Let's cross the finish line in 15 minutes. A couple tidbits, the whole thing with Wade Barrett separating his shoulder. There's a feeling that there's an increase in injuries lately because they're being encouraged to work more aggressive style. And the idea is to throw strikes hard and fast, and then just barely miss. Of course, that doesn't always happen. Accidents do happen. Laureen, former president of the Travel Channel, has been elected to the WWE Board of Directors. And also, Sting made a cryptic set of tweets today regarding next Monday, posting the date and a darkened picture of his face, which many theorize as a hint toward his appearance in the WWE 2K15 video game.
I would not be surprised if this was the truth. I would also like to see Sting sign some sort of deal of some sort.
Yeah, you and me both. But what are the odds that's going to happen?
Well, if he's tweeting about this, I'm willing to bet a large amount of money that it's already happened. Okay. So we're going to do this 15-minute time limit thing. And I'm the 15-minute time limit this week, since we don't have a topic necessarily, we're going to open up the floor a little bit, and I'm going to talk about some stuff, and these guys will respond. So this week on Raw, Bo Dallas continued his wonderful winning streak against El Torito. And the best move that I've ever seen in my entire life, in Bo Dallas' entire, inventory of moves, occurred this particular Raw. Can you guys guess what it is?
Just to be a little geekish. Bo Dallas. Yes, that's a theme from Attack on Titan, as Bo Dallas Titan-esquely just pretty much did his run around the ring and knocked over El Torino like he was a small midget. Well, he is a small midget, but like he was a regular man being stomped on by a Titan.
I think that quite possibly was one of the best moments of Bo Dallas' in-ring and on-screen career, period.
Well, if you're going to put Bo Dallas in the same company as people like Adam Rose, I think it's a little unfair, because Dallas is a bit one-note himself, and then there's also the idea that, he really does kind of remind you of an early Kurt Angle. A debut Kurt Angle and all of his Three Eyes stuff and kind of his goody type personality. And I think, there's been enough time that you can make that work.
I mean, the Bo Dallas thing is pretty incredible in its inanity, I think, right now. I don't know if it'll work, but I sure as hell hope that they do something with it, because you just run over midgets. Somebody screamed from the arena, "You evil motherfucker!" And when you're getting reactions like that...
Well, you see, the problem with that isn't. I think we're missing the point here with Bo. Specifically, Bo Dallas is. What the hell was that? Oh. Hey guys, we're live on the air, and yeah. But Bo Dallas is just he's weird. He's a very odd gentleman, I mean, he projects his character well, and it's very believable. But at the same time, it's like, you fired Chris Hero for a little bit of pouch, and Bo's jiggling and jaggling all in the ring there.
Oh my God, yes, this is Jello, harkening back to the old Cosby days of the Jello pudding pops. My God, really?
It pisses me off to see this kind of shit, to be honest.
Yeah. It kind of leads into one of the things, we were talking earlier about this whole Roman Reigns push to WrestleMania. They've already got it all figured out, this and that. I'd actually be okay with that. It sounds like a decent story. It's not that I think they have every single week planned out or anything, but in a way, it kind of leads to a certain amount of predictability. The idea that Reigns will blow through Orton and then Rollins and then have a feud with Triple H, maybe a Hell in a Cell match, win the Royal Rumble, face the champion, whether it's Lesnar or whoever. I mean, on paper, it sounds very predictable, but it also sounds okay. I mean, it makes sense when you're trying to build a big new star and everything. The problem, however, is that when you have people like Bo Dallas on the mid-card, and then you try to remember 3 hours of Raw, and you think, well, there were two Diva segments, and there was, Jericho, whom they brought back, facing Miz and the Wyatt and all that. And it's hard to really kind of remember a lot of the rest of the stuff. Really, Raw kind of lulls, except for certain segments they've advertised, top of the hour segments. So I guess my point here is that, I would be more okay with them having planned the main event out so long-term if they had a strong undercard to sort of pad the rest of the shows and, keep it interesting throughout. But the fact of the matter is they don't, and they haven't really for a long time, and they do make efforts, but again, Raw could easily be a 2-hour show again, and it wouldn't really matter that much.
Exactly, and with the aggressive styles, and with the more injuries we're coming up with, you're gonna have your best laid plans of mice and men be totally shit upon.
Pretty much. I don't think that necessarily they have to have a permanent long-term plan, but it seems to me that every time that they kind of settle on something, it either gets screwed up because somebody in the storyline screws himself up, or it seems like like for example, Emma was getting a big push, unless you didn't notice. It was before what's her face showed up. And I mean, she was having fun with Santino and blah blah blah. And Santino retires. She gets arrested in the same week, mind you, the same week. And now Emma's just on the cam because she's a great talent and she's perfectly fine to work in the Divas division. I'd rather watch Emma than I'd watch a Funkadactyls breakup, only because Cameron sucks and Naomi's actually decent. But at the same time here, so I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm going to get to Roman Reigns here. Roman is quite possibly a very, very believable top babyface. He's definitely 2002-2003 Cena-esque in his promo delivery and his whatchamacallit, and his abilities in the ring. I definitely see where they see something in him to make him the super strong babyface for life. However, even after this WrestleMania season and they push him to the moon, having him win the Royal Rumble like he didn't win last year, which would be, perfectly fine for storytelling, I don't think he might not be ready on the mic. That promo on Monday was not that good.
I think it just...
Yeah, he definitely...
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait until he develops himself more on the mic. It just goes to show that you can't always plan in advance how the pro wrestling business is going to work.
Well, I will say this for him. It was 1,000 times better than this is the beginning of the genesis of the start.
Yes, McGillicuddy just kind of shot himself in the foot there, didn't he? Right back, so.
What do you think? Talking about Reigns as well, because they really have all the time in the world to kind of get him going. And really, his character kind of benefits from a slow, kind of not-so-wordy promo. He doesn't have to say much, that's fine for him. What do you think about this idea that Lesnar might be the champion at SummerSlam if they go on WrestleMania? Can they? Because he's not going to be around that much.
I can't even imagine why they would want to do that. Why would you want to? I mean, I guess they did it with The Rock. And he wasn't there, every week, but he was there a lot more than Lesnar's going to be, for damn sure, because they've only got so many appearances for Lesnar. And
here's the thing with Lesnar. Take a look at what Lesnar's done since WrestleMania. How many matches has Lesnar been in since WrestleMania?
Goose egg.
And how many times has he appeared on Raw since WrestleMania?
Honkers.
And how many appearances did he have last year? Just about. Take a guess.
4 or 5.
4 or 5. That's it. He was not around for just 4 or 5 matches, or 4 or 5. Excuse me, not 4 or 5. I'm not talking just matches. I'm talking total appearances on WWE television. 6.
All right. What is it?
I've got it along the lines of 12 and 14, somewhere in there. So if you're telling me that he can be on Raw, the day, he can be on SummerSlam, and he can phone it in through Heyman, and he can be there in a little more of a presence, with the championship, and he could just, go home for a little while, and then come back. Or even if they split up the championships, which could potentially happen, wouldn't it be interesting to see what the Beast Incarnate who defeated Undertaker, the 1 in 21 and 1 Lesnar, could do with the WWE Championship if they gave him, every other week, he appears on the show and something happens. I'm saying that basically they've saved the dates, they've counted their counted their chickens, and they're gonna pay him. I guarantee you, Brock Lesnar, we will see him between SummerSlam and WrestleMania. We will see him 20 times, 20 times on WWE programming.
I just don't know what to say to this, except it doesn't sound like the best plan I've ever heard of. And even when Rock was champion and he had the title and he wasn't showing up any week, he was at least giving good, entertaining, pre-recorded segments. I don't know if it's possible for Lesnar to do that. I mean, if without Paul E in his corner doing his vocal work, I just don't think that he's anything more than a big wrecking ball. Unless you want to hear Paul say something stupid every other week.
I don't know, it really just kind of makes me concerned because, obviously Lesnar's big appeal is that he is such a destructive force, and he is confirmed to be wrestling at Night of Champions, a show that is supposed to be pretty stacked, because that'll be about when the first round of network subscriptions are up. But part of me, it's really hard to see if Lesnar is the champion, yet he's withholding. I mean, even if with 20 appearances, they can make it work. They can make a story, granted. But I don't know, will it go over that well? I'm just not quite sure. Especially, Paul is a great promo guy too. But, I also don't want to hear 21 and 1 repeated for the next, what is it, 7, 8 months, 9 months. However long until WrestleMania 31.
Well, here's the good thing about WWE. I don't know if it's a good thing about WWE, but it's a good thing about WWE about this. And that we know that it doesn't matter how much planning they do or how well ahead everything is scripted and set to go. They will be tearing up scripts and formats up to the day before every Raw and rewriting them. So while they might have a general outline, I think that's probably the most that they will have, is just a general outline. Because they don't hold steady on pretty much anything.
Well, we can only hope because about this time last year we were talking about how maybe they were thinking of some kind of big control tower storyline with the McMahons, and maybe like Triple H versus Steve Austin, with Austin being Vince's proxy, and things like that. And obviously, nowhere near that happened, but.
We still got the Orton storyline, and we still got no one that wasn't on this podcast or anything could have predicted the meteoric rise of Daniel Bryan. He went from the goat that people kind of loved from that particular tag team with Kane to quite possibly one of the most over superstars ever.
And if they're trying to manufacture that again, which I say manufacture, but it's not really that hard to do. He's already pretty over a lot of people talking about things.
Okay, that's for the 15-minute time limit. So Yankum, what are we going into?
We could play a song. We don't have any new ones, but we could play a song.
Hey, why not?
Okay, let's do that.
Play a song then. What are we playing?
Hips up and down. Big shaft, tasting his freak on my tongue. Once he's had enough of that, over onto his back.
Oh wait, sorry. I misclicked. I meant to do this.
just like you.